is Lemonade Live 2.0. So what we're talking about today, guys, is, and it's super duper important to have a plan for success, right? Like right now, I have everything all planned out. I did everything I could to control the variables today, and very last second, I couldn't. So, but you know what? We're going to trudge forward, and we're still going to get the job done, okay? So today, we're going to be talking about the simple plan that you need to do to follow to have success, right? The most beautiful thing about business is that it's repeatable, right? There's a cause and effect. Certain behaviors will bring about certain effects, right? So here's what we have, right? What we have is, okay, fine. For instance, it's kind of like baseball, right? And if you guys have ever been on the phone with me, you'll understand this analogy, right? There's certain steps that you need to take, especially in this business, in order to be successful. And in order to be successful, you can't go from first base to third base. That's just not the way the game works. You got to go from home, you got to get on base, boom, go to first, boom, go to second, boom, go to third, and then finally, hopefully hit home plate, right? So at the end of the day, there's a certain pattern that needs to be followed. And the cool thing about business is you can follow somebody else's pattern and get a pretty similar result, regardless of the markets. Like, you know, if someone's in, I don't know, Georgia and you're in Ohio, you know, there might be some regionalities, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of commonalities. And if you can figure out why something worked, then you can understand how to replicate it, right? So if you guys can do me a favor, and if you guys are looking for a game plan, type game plan in the comments for me, guys, by the way. And the reason, I don't know if you guys know it or not, but every week I have everybody, you know, reach into the comments. What it does, right? The more senses you can engage while taking in information, the more you're going to get out of it, right? Thank you, Amber, for the game plan. Oh, yeah, Maria's with the game plan too, right? The reason we do this, guys, it's not because I like seeing people's names on the screen with letters, right? What it does is psychologically, it helps you. When you engage your eyes, your ears, typing, so forth, right? I would have you be reciting things out loud in your office if I could, because the more senses you use to interpret and interact with information, the more likely your brain is to not only remember it, but also implement it. Your brain stores information in a bunch of different ways, right? Like for instance, I don't know, this ball, right? This is an orange basketball, right? It can remember it as orange. It can remember it as spongy. It can remember it as textured. It can remember it as round. It can remember it as basketball. It can remember it as that 6th grade league I used to play in. It can remember it as the thing that Michael Jordan used to dribble, right? So the same exact object gets stored in your brain a bunch of different ways. That's why if you've ever, you know, tried to remember something and you're like, oh, what was that thing? Oh, that movie, the name of the guy, it began with a C. Because that's the way your brain stores information, right? So it stores, you know, the color of the ball in one file cabinet. It stores the texture in another file cabinet. It stores people that play basketball in another file cabinet, right? So what we're doing, we're trying to game that, knowing this, right? We're using neuropsychology, and the reason why we have you type and listen and see, the more senses you use, the more places this information is getting stored. And when it comes time to implement and recall it, it's easier because it's stored in a bunch of different places. Because not only your eyes, but your ears, but your hands. Sometimes if you write notes, right, the tactical writing of notes, tactile writing of notes is super duper important, because it puts that information in your brain in yet another way, right, guys? So the more you interact with this, the more you're going to get out of it. Okay, that's a little life hack right there. Complete side note. Okay, so what we're gonna do, guys, is game plan, game plan, game plan. You need to start with a simple plan of what to do, okay? So now, I would go on record and argue with anybody that sales is the best way to go. I promise you, I've done leasing since 2003, okay? And I made way more money when I switched over to sales and sales darn near exclusively, right? When the only people that I did any leasing for were people that I had already done business with and so forth. But you know, 98% of my business is sales and working with sellers. Now, if I sold someone's building and they needed an up-lake property for a 1031 exchange, of course I'm going to help them. But the sooner you get to the sell side of the business, the sooner your business will blow up. So now let's talk about what it will take to make that happen, to get your business to blow up. So there's a 4-step plan, right? And we're going to go in reverse order, okay? Sometimes knowing what not to do is as important, if not more important, than knowing what to do. Here's what I mean. We all have the same 24 hours a day, right? You know, how does Elon Musk, I always bring him up because he's super prolific, right? How does he get so much more done in a day than most average people? Because he knows how to leverage his time the best, right? We all get the same 24. He just does a better job than just about anybody. I don't know anyone that's more prolific than that guy. Either that or he is a master delegator. Regardless of how he does it, the output remains. He's created multiple huge companies, and he's highly, highly effective. So what I'm saying is, when you know what not to do, it's sometimes even more important than what to do, because there's a good chance that you're already doing some of the right things and they're getting you some success, right? But when you know when to extract and leave certain things and delegate them off from your day, that's when you really start hitting an inflection point. That's when you start hitting a point where you're like, wow, oh wow, the business starts taking off. My business tripled in 24 months when I went to sales only and started working only with sellers. Tripled in 24 months, okay? That's the effect that removing the wrong things has to do with it. So one of the wrong things that a lot of people are doing, right, is they're limiting themselves geographically, okay? I had a conversation today with a student, right? And one of the things that he and I discussed was sometimes you need to go a little bit wider. You know, if you don't have what's in your backyard, like if you don't have mangoes in your backyard and you love mangoes, are you just gonna just say, oh, sorry, I don't have them at the local Publix, or are you gonna go to another store and try to find them, right? Maybe you gotta go to the store down the street. That's the point. If you don't have enough of a certain property type or commercial listings or opportunities, then sometimes you got to go a little bit wider. The way I look at it is this. One of my students just today, we were just conversing over Voxer just a moment ago. He made a cold call this morning. He has a meeting set up for a $500,000 piece of property, right? Now, the way I look at that, at 3%, that's $15,000. At 6%, which if you get both sides of the deal, and I teach my students how to do that, you're looking at a $30,000 fee. Now, my question for you guys, Shai, Rolf, Amber, any of you guys, right? Would you guys drive an hour to pick up a $30,000 check? You guys, let me know. Type in 30K if you would drive an hour to pick up 30K. Do me that favor, right? And the reason I bring this up is because so often people say, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to da-da-da-da-da. You know, at the end of the day, you got to realize that there's so much gold out there. It's a question of how far you want to pick it up. Okay, Rolf says 30K, Shai says 30K, Amber, yep, and Amber says she's got to drive an hour everywhere. Exactly, guys. And if you don't happen to live close to a lot of stuff, then you're going to have to drive to it. But oftentimes what we're doing is we're looking for specific types of properties. Sometimes you got to go a little bit further. That's okay. Sometimes you got to drive 2 hours. I tell you what, I drive 2 hours for 30K because when you're selling income producing real estate, guess what? You don't have to be there and show it. It's not like you're selling a 3-2 condo that you're going to get 3 showings a week on. It doesn't work that way. When you have a spreadsheet with all the financials and you have all the information in a nice tight financial package, guess what? Someone calls you asking for a showing, send them the financials and say, hey, listen, the seller really requested that we don't interrupt the tenants until after we have the property under contract. So do me a favor. Your buyer is really looking to purchase the income stream that's coming from the property, right? Yes. Okay, great. So why don't they take a look at the financials? And of course, during due diligence, we can have you take a look on the inside of the units, but we just don't want any tenants moving out ahead of time. Let's say if you're selling multifamily, right? We just don't want any tenants moving out, on account of the property being for sale. So why don't you make an offer based on the financials that we send you, and then you have plenty of time during due diligence to take care of that. Fair enough? Okay, great. And that's the point, folks, is you don't have to go 3 times a week to go service a listing, because it's not the same thing as working with owner users, or not the same thing as working with residential. Okay, you guys with me? If you're with me, type in income, because income properties are the way to go. You can sell them across the state. You can sell them across the country. I've sold plenty of properties that I never stepped foot in, or I stepped foot in for the listing agreement, took a look around, had the sign put in, and the only time that I had to step back in there is to pick the sign back up again. And sometimes just leave the sign. It's actually free advertising, right? Good, cool. You guys are with me. So that's the point, guys. When you start hitting the point where when you're selling income producing properties, your life gets a lot easier. So sometimes you just got to drive out there. So don't be afraid to spread out your geographical area, just like Amber just mentioned a minute ago. She said she drives an hour everywhere. Big deal, right? If there's money there, they'll pick it up, okay? Cool. Now, the next thing is stop doing leasing and working with buyers. Now, here's the thing, guys. We all have bills to pay. We all have lights to keep on. We all have families and mouths to feed. I get that. These are in a perfect situation, right? In a perfect situation, or as soon as you possibly can, stop leasing and working with buyers. The reason being, okay, leasing oftentimes doesn't pay enough. Sometimes I've had some chunky leases that were the size of sales, right? The size of decent sales. But on the whole, they're oftentimes going to be significantly smaller. There's more work involved. Sometimes they pay you annually. You got to chase your money. On the whole, sales are so much better, like exponentially better. So the point is, as soon as you can, I recognize not everybody can just drop everything they're doing and go straight to sales. Get yourself to working with leasing, okay? To stop working with leasing and working with buyers. I can tell you from personal experience, you can probably work with like 4 or 5 buyers, like active buyers at a time. You can work with over 20 sellers at a time because that's what I do, okay? That's what I have done and worked a business out and worked out ways of delegating to people. And this is all things that we teach our students in the program, like when to delegate, when to hire people, when you're getting to the point where you can't handle it, what to do, who to hire, all that good stuff, right? But the point is, you can comfortably work with 20 plus people, 20 plus sellers, and make a lot of money. And you can only work with 4 or 5 buyers. And you guys know from having worked with buyers, how many of you have ever got, just type ghost in the comments for me if you've ever been ghosted by a buyer. You take them around, you show them around, you show them 4 or 5 properties, you send this report, you send that report, you go back and forth for a couple weeks, they eat up your car, they eat up your tires, they hop in your car, you're driving around, and the next thing you know, guess what? Boom. Oh, poof, they evaporated like Houdini, right? Exactly, guys. I see Rose says buyers with the vomit sign. Exactly, right? So the point is, the quicker you can get to work representing sellers, the faster you're going to be able to start making the money that you want. And the cool thing about it is, when you start only working with sellers, what happens is you start leveraging your time, because all that time that you used to waste with buyers, you're now spending looking for new sellers, and so you get better at a faster rate. It's like 2 things working on each other. It's like 2 jacks jacking up a car instead of just 1, right? So the more time you get back, the more you work on sellers, the more sellers you get, the more listings you get, the more listings you get, the more money you make. So there's a reason why, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of like hockey stick growth. It's like this, right? You know, usual growth curves are like this. Hockey stick growth is like when you start doing the right things and at the same time start doing less of the wrong things. It's incredible how fast your business can grow. So that being said, guys, as soon as you can, wean yourself off. If you're working 90% buyers and leasing, and maybe you start with 10% sellers, just try to do one of these, right? And over time, you want to get yourself to here, because I don't suggest going from here, shutting it all the way off, and then going over there, because there is a lag time. I'll be the first to admit it. Commercial deal cycles can be 6, 9, 12 months, right? So there's going to be a period of time. But when you start working with sellers and you start working with them over and over and over again, you start getting listings on a consistent basis. Guess what's happening every month? You're getting more listings, and those listings that are now 6 or 8 or 9 months old, or boom, they're starting to fall. Boom, starting to fall. Boom, they're starting to fall into your bank account, right? You're starting to sell those listings. They're starting to come of age, and you because sometimes in certain areas it might take 6 or to 12 months to sell something, but once they start falling like dominoes every single month. 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 boom. So it's lovely. I absolutely love it. The first quarter and the fourth quarter are especially my favorite time of the year, because that's when so many people are doing things, either 1, to settle up money for tax season, or 2, because they have budgets allotted for expenditures in the first quarter. So I absolutely love those that 6-month period from like October 1st through like March, the end of March. Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, cool. Next item, do not limit yourself to 1 or 2 property types, okay? Here's the thing, guys. Once you learn how to value properties, okay? Once you learn how to value them and value them properly and understand the nuances between them, it's if you can value one, you can value the rest. Once you get good at it, and you only have to get it good at this this skill once in your life, okay? What I tell people is you got to go from knowing it, like, yeah, okay, income minus expenses equals NOI, apply a cap rate, sure, to like, I know this stuff inside out. If they woke me up, shook me up out of a dead sleep in the middle of the night, I could tell them, the difference between operating expenses and capital expenses, right? That type of thing. So what you need to do, guys, is you need to own this stuff. Not like, yeah, I read it someplace and I could probably like figure it out in the back of a cocktail napkin. It's like, no, you need to have this at the tip of your tongue, and you need to be able to look at an investor and say, hey, sir, I appreciate your perspective, but let me show you why my opinion of value is here, and be able to defend your price like an attorney would defend their client in a court of law. You need to be able to build a very logical, common sense argument why the building is worth this and not that, right? Because 9 times out of 10, guys, okay, ready? Here we go. 9 times out of 10, is the buyer going to overvalue or undervalue the building? Let's throw that in the comments, and you let me know if you think, I'm sorry, if sellers are going to overvalue or undervalue a building. Tell me what you think that's going to be. Overvalue or undervalue? Amber says over. Okay. All right, who's next? Who's up? Rolf? Shai? Under? Okay, think about this. Rolf says over. Okay, I call this the beautiful baby syndrome, right? Right? Maria says over because nobody has an ugly baby. Right? Okay? I know it's not politically correct to say, but everyone thinks that their baby is just a little bit more beautiful than their neighbor's baby and their friend's baby and their sister's baby and whatever, right? So everybody's baby is the most beautiful baby in the world. So people are the same way with their properties, okay? You could wake Rip Van Winkle up. If he was a commercial building owner, you could wake him up out of a 30-year coma and say, hey, Rip, what is your building worth? I guarantee you whatever he says is going to be 20% over market value, right? It's crazy. It's absolutely, absolutely crazy. So you guys are all right. Exactly. Yeah. Every seller overvalues a property. And frankly, every buyer, they're incentivized to undervalue properties. That being said, it's up to us to be able to show them, because we are the market professionals, we are the real estate professionals, what their property is actually worth, okay? And that is a skill, and that is a skill that pays handsomely. So again, guys, my recommendation is learn that skill, learn it really well, and do not limit yourself to 1 or 2 property types. Learn the big 4, right? When I say the big 4, that's gonna cover like 85, probably like 90%. It's gonna be office, it's going to be retail, it's going to be multifamily, as well as industrial. You're going to have some specialty use, and you're going to have this, you're going to have that, your hospitality stuff, but that represents on the whole a much smaller, segment, of the population. There's only so many hotels. There's a ton, of apartment buildings, let's say, right? As an example. So if you learn those 4 property types, you're good for between 80 and 90% of the market. Okay. So do not limit yourself to only 1 property type. Now, the next thing I'll tell you guys is do not, and now this is the last one. I put this at last for a reason, right? This out of the 4-step plan. Stop limiting yourself geographically. Stop doing lease work and working with buyers. Don't limit yourself to 1 to 2 property types. And finally, don't work another day without a game plan. Okay? If General Patton went to war without a game plan and just said, hey guys, go out there and just like shoot that way, do you think we would still be speaking English here? No, we'd probably be speaking German or Japanese, because we would have been taken over by whoever we fought, by our enemies in World War II, right? You with me? So the point is, guys, the reason why militaries is so successful is that they start everything with a plan. You plan your work and you work your plan. Very, very important. You cannot just shoot from the hip in this business. It doesn't work that way. You don't just go out and business falls in your lap. You have to be very, very intentional. Now, what's interesting is for the folks that have come over from residential into the commercial world, it's a very different mindset. And here's what I mean. On the residential side, think about it, folks. Everybody needs a roof over their head. Am I wrong? Right? So everybody you walk into, if you're selling houses or condos or doing rentals or whatever, everybody you bump into needs shelter, right? So you walk into someone at the gas station or at the grocery store or at the PTA or at a baseball game or whatever, and everybody is a potential client. So you can really be like unintentional and just walk around and just flick business cards at everybody. Woo! Business cards. Here. I'm a realtor. Great. And you're going to get some business. 1 out of 100 people you talk to is going to give you business. In commercial, it doesn't work that way. What you have to recognize in commercial is that it's number one, it's a niche product, and number two, to work specifically on the sell side, there's a very small a sliver of people that own commercial real estate. So you can walk down the street all day long and never meet anyone that owns commercial buildings, right? As opposed to everybody you see on the street needs shelter. So it's very, very different from the residential side. You have to be way more intentional about your business. So that's especially why it's so darn important to have a game plan. If you don't have a game plan, it's going to be the equivalent of General Patton going to war and being like, I don't know, guys, do what you think is right. I mean, let's see what we feel like doing today. As opposed to, this is our plan, this is how we're going to attack, this is where we're going to start from, this is how many troops we need, this is how many tanks we need, this is how many airplanes we need. You with me? Okay, guys? So, what is the plan? What is the system that we do? It's very, very simple, guys. We go out and we get commercial listings. How do we do that? We call the right people with the right message at the right time, and we deliver it the right way. Next thing you know, you value the property, so you understand what the property is worth, so you can have an intelligent conversation once you have the listing meeting, right? Once you get to the listing meeting, you need to know what to say. You need to know what questions to ask so they can understand the process. So that you can understand what their needs are, what their motivations are, and then take them through the process of persuading them to allow you to have control of their multi-million-dollar, hopefully, depending on the size of the listing, persuade them to give you control of their significant portion of their net worth, right? So someone's got to really, really trust you to give you a commercial listing. It's not like you're selling their $200,000 condo. Maybe this is their only building that they have, and it's $1.5 million, and it represents their entire life savings. You with me, guys? So you have to know there's a very certain process. There's certain questions you need to take them through. There's a certain questioning strategy you need to take so that they will realize that you are the person that they're willing to entrust their listing with. Okay, so that's what you got to do. You got to reach out to the right person with the right message at the right time. You need to value their building property. You need to be asked the right questions. You need to be persuasive. You need to have the right questioning strategies and ultimately persuade them to give you control of their asset. And then once you do that, then you take it and you try to get both sides of the listing. That is what we do in a nutshell. Okay? So, guys, if there's any questions about what we do, how we do it, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you guys offline about that. You can, if you type in #training, if you're interested in learning more about what we do and how we do it, I'd be happy to talk to you guys and explain what we do. If this is your year to finally level up your business, if you're not happy with where your business is today, this is the time to take action. And I don't care whether you move an inch, a foot, or a mile. All I ask is for your sake that you take a step in the right direction to fixing the problems that are existing in your business. Think about this, guys. Oh, let's do a little exercise, okay? In the comments, type. I mean, it doesn't have to be a dollar figure, okay? Type what you want to make this year in terms of like how many transactions you want to close, right? Okay. And then the other thing is type how many transactions you did last year. Oftentimes, what you want to make this year and what you did last year, there's a gap, right? That's your ambition gap, right? Now, let's say, and I'm gonna put numbers on this. Let's say you want to make $300,000 this year. And Amber, I saw that. I'll absolutely get you that. Thank you for reminding me. So let's say you wanted you want to make $300,000 this year, right? But last year you only made $100,000. Guess what, guys? You paid life $200,000 for not knowing the skills that it takes to make that $300,000. You with me? What you want versus what you made, that gap is your gap in your knowledge, right? I don't want to say it's the cost of ignorance, but it's the cost of not knowing the skills, right? Because ignorance is another word. But the point is, guys, if you want to make this and last year you made this, you paid life X amount of dollars. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you want to make $1 million and you made $500 last year, it cost you $500,000 not to know how to make $1 million. You guys with me? Right? So Amber says 7 transactions this year, 3 residential transactions last year. Okay, cool. Your gap, Amber, is 4 transactions, and then where you are in your market, right? Whatever the average size transaction is, let's say it's $15,000, right? It costs you $60,000 not know how to make it to that 7 transaction level. Rolf, goal $15 million in sales. Awesome. Rolf, how much in sales did you do last year, right? We're about to establish your gap, right? So once you guys start realizing this, right, this is what's also called in economics, it's called the opportunity cost, right? It's like if you chose to do one path versus the other, what it cost you to take this path of action as opposed to that path of action, right? Whatever it is, guys, whatever that gap is, that's what it's costing you every year. Some people say, I'll get to it next week, I'll get to it next month, I'll get to it next year, right? Rolf says, this is my year. Love it. Oh, this is your first year. Okay, I'm sorry, the writing is small and I need glasses. But yeah, that's the gap, guys. The gap is what you want from what you got. In between there lies what it costs you to not get what you want, okay? So, and then I always like to bring up Einstein, although I just read recently that this is improperly quoted. He didn't actually say it, but whatever the case may be, it's a poignant statement to this topic that we're on. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got, right? It's the same thing. If you keep doing the same thing that you did last year that got you to X amount of transactions or X amount of dollars, and you want, usually our goals are like 50% more or double sometimes, right? A lot of people want to get there. Until you take the steps to learn the skills to get there, you're never going to get there. It's that plain and simple. It's cause and effect. Like I started this conversation with, it's cause and effect that gets us. If one man or woman did it, another person can too, if you follow the same steps and have the same outcomes or have similar outcomes. So don't forget, guys, if you keep doing what you always did, you'll always get the same result. Now, what if you don't change? You're at a path. You're at a crossroads right here. You keep going down this road. You know where that road's going to take you. It's going to take you to whatever, three listings a year, maybe $70,000, maybe $100,000. But you really want to get to 250 or 300 or 500 or whatever that number is. If you're like a train going down a track, if you stay on that track, you know where the destination is. This destination station is the same station you went to last year and the year before, versus taking a different alternative route and doing something about it. Okay, guys? So, what will you do different so that you get a different result this year? I'm going to say it again. What will you do different so that you get a different result this year? You have to change something, okay? Like Marty McFly, right? What did Marty McFly do? He went back in time. So imagine if you could go back in time. Imagine if you could just hop in the DeLorean, type in the date where you could go to and have all the knowledge you have today to go back to. What would that be? What would that be worth? Would that be priceless, guys? Okay? Do me a favor. If you would love to be able to take all the knowledge you have today and go back in time to a previous date, type in priceless for me. Think of what you could do if you, I don't know, let's just say you bought Apple stock 20 years ago. You know, I got talked out of Apple stock at 44 in 2003 when I bought my first iPod, right? I'm telling you, I wish I would have put the money onto it, I would have, right? So Amber says priceless, Brian Harris says priceless, Rosa says priceless. Exactly, guys. Now here I'm gonna change your shift your thinking a little bit, guys. By learning from somebody who already has the experience, you are effectively going back in time. You're going back in time to the time that they learned things, right? Because you get to take all the experience that they got and put it into your brain. That's how knowledge works. That's how the old saying goes. The reason we can see so far is because we stood on the shoulders of giants, right? The reason is somebody else has already invented the wheel. Somebody else has already written the book. You don't need to rewrite the book. There's no reward for how hard you work and how much you castigate yourself. You beat yourself up over this thing, right? The only reward is what comes out at the end. It's learning, getting result, and putting money in your pocket so you can help yourself, help your family, help your community. You with me? Okay, so guys, the what I'm getting to is we offer training. We can help you speed back. We can help you turn back the hands of time in the sense that it's not going to take you 2 to 3 years to learn the skills. It took me 4 years to learn the skill that I now have that I teach others, right? I don't want it to take you guys 4 years. I wish I could have paid somebody day one in my business to like know everything that I know today. I would do anything for that because 4 years is a real long time, and it's not only the turmoil and the struggle and the strife, but it's also all the money that I didn't make during those 4 years while I was trying this, trying that, trying this, trying that, because I had no path. I'm here laying out a very, very specific path for you guys. All you have to do is follow the path and you will get results. Okay, so if I can help you in any way, if anybody is interested in training, I would love to help you turn back the hands of time. Like Cher said, if I can turn back time, right? So do that. If you want to, type in hashtag training. That will certainly, we'll put together like a call, or we'll schedule something so we can explain to you a little bit about what you're looking for, how we can help you, and so forth, right? So getting back to Amber's question. Amber was asking about due diligence, okay? So here's the thing, guys. We teach people, and I think she mentioned she had like a 120-day due diligence in something. What we try to do in our business is what we try to do is well, let me preface it by saying there's two things that we sell in this business. And if anybody is a student of mine, you know I say this all the time in training, right? We sell two things. We sell our time and we sell our knowledge. Those are the only thing as real estate brokers we have to sell. So what does that mean? You can't give away your knowledge for free, number one. And number two is you can't give away your time for free, okay? Time is the only finite resource that we can never, ever get back. I bet you Warren Buffett wishes he can get time back. He can't buy it. He's one of the richest guys in America. He can't buy time. Nobody can. So the point is, guys, you have to use your time as effectively as possible. What do I mean? So we're going to tie this into Amber's question. We're talking about due diligences and so forth, right? So the more deals you can get done in a year, the more commission checks you cash, the more you make in a year. And last time I checked, we talk about our earnings in the course in the things in the perspective of dollars per year, right? Dollars per year. So what we're doing is we're effectively talking about how much money we made in how much of a period of time. So doesn't it behoove us, guys, in order to get as many deals done as quickly as possible? Yes. If you guys are with me, say say fast deals. Type in fast deals in the comments. If you're with me, you want to get deals done fast, because guess what? The faster you get this deal done, the quicker you can get onto the next one and the next one and the next one, right? So the point being, guys, you need to control the due diligence periods as much as possible. I would much prefer to take and give someone 30 days due diligence and give them an extension of 10 days or 15 days and another extension of 10 days or 15 days or whatever, then give them 60 days and they don't start doing diddly-do until day 50. I promise you. If any of you guys, and I'm one of them too, okay, nobody's perfect, have any of you guys ever procrastinated anything, okay? Raise your hand. Give me a thumbs up if you ever procrastinated. Guess what? Buyers do the same thing. Oh, I've been meaning to call that environmental engineer so I can do that environmental study and do that phase one. Oh, I keep meaning to call the surveyor to get that survey done. Ooh, I gotta call that building guy, the building inspector, so he can take a look at this property that I'm interested in, right? You give somebody 60 or 90 or 120 days, they're gonna start about 3/4 of the way into that time period. So the shorter the time period you give them during due diligence, the better off you're going to be, because it's just human nature that we procrastinate and wait till the last second, you know? How many of you guys have ever gone on vacation, right? And like the day before you go on vacation, you just crush everything and you get everything done on your list? Why? Because work expands the time allotted for it. So similarly with due diligence, it's in our favor to control it as much as possible and give the shortest amount of time available. So here's the thing. Realistically speaking, to do an environmental, you can get it done in 21 days, right? And then if the results come back a little wonky and you need a phase 2, you can get that done in another 14 days, maybe 21. You know, but there's no reason. I'm in the middle of a transaction now where, against my better wishes, the attorney who was involved in it gave the buyer 120 days due diligence. And guess what? At 120 days, they asked for an extension. Okay, so do not Do not give long periods of time. I'd much rather give 30 days and then give 15-day extensions every 15 days. But what it does is it holds their feet to the fire. It keeps them incentivized, it keeps them engaged. The more you can keep someone engaged, the better off you are, right? So Amber says zoning, permitting, licensing. Yeah, those are all things. Licensing, typically you're not gonna, zoning is if you're changing the use or you're changing the zoning. That gets a little bit trickier, but if that needs to be done, what you can get, Amber, is you can get what's called a zoning verification letter, which is they're not going to give you the zoning, but they can say, hey, yeah, this use is allowed in this zone. So if during due diligence someone says, I want to make sure that I can use this for what I want, you might not get like your certificate of occupancy, obviously, because you don't own it, but you can get what's called a zoning verification letter. They might cost you $100 or something like that at the zoning department. But bottom line is, you'll at least know that your client can go in and purchase a property and utilize it for what they're looking for. Permitting. If you're talking about construction permitting, that's after it's already been purchased. And licensing, getting your business license is after the property's already been purchased. So the two of those three things happen afterwards, and zoning happens. You can get what's called a zoning verification letter in many municipalities, or just get something in writing that says, sure, this isn't your business license, but we will allow you to use this property for this use because of it's in the XYZ zone. You with me? Okay, cool. Hope that clears it up. So guys, again, what do we sell? Our time and our knowledge. That's the most important thing on earth, to safeguard those, and especially safeguard your calendar. He or she who controls their calendar controls their income, right? If you let someone else control your calendar, you are giving money away. If you use your email inbox as what you need to do today, someone else is controlling you, as opposed to you have your game plan, aka your calendar. You run your life by your calendar. You are then in control of your day, and you get to that inbox when you can, on your time, on your dime. Make sense? Cool. All right, guys. Hope that helps. If anybody's interested, remember, guys,